welcome to our second unit. In this unit, we will talk about perspectives and history of personality. The concept of personality has been studied for at least 2,000 years, beginning with Hippocrates. They theorized that personality traits are based on 4 temperaments associated with 4 different fluids in our body. And the different fluids with different levels are involved in different types of temperament. And imbalances of the different fluids may cause diseases or explain personality differences across individuals. So for those who have greater yellow bile from the liver, they are more likely to be passionate or ambitious. And for greater black bile from the kidneys, they are more likely to be anxious and unhappy. And red blood from the heart explains joyful and optimistic traits. And finally, white flame from the lungs enables people to be calm and reliable. Here is another perspective. So a German physician proposed that distances between pumps of one's skull can reveal their differences in personality traits. They used a ruler to measure the distance and think that those distances would reveal the size of the brain areas under the skull. This perspective was very popular at that time, but later they found to be lacking empirical evidence, so it is also known to be pseudoscience today. Now let's spend some time on Freud's psychodynamic perspective of personality. So he argues that childhood unconscious drives may impact one's personality development. So the unconscious drives are influenced by sexuality and also aggression. And our personality will be formed through balancing conflicts between the unconscious and the conscious parts of the mind. So again, the unconscious part will be the unacceptable and aggressive behaviors or urges. And then the conscious part would require effortful control. So balancing between these two will form our personality. Based on Freud, there are 3 interacting systems in our mind: the id, the ego, and the superego. And we will go through it one by one. First, the id. It directs our impulses for hunger, thirst, and sex. And then the ego is the rational part of our personality, and its role is to balance the id with the superego. And finally, the superego is our moral control, and it is developed through interacting with others. So through social interactions, we will learn some rules, and we know what is right and what is wrong. So imbalances in the 3 interacting systems can lead to neurosis, which is a tendency to experience negative emotions, and it will heighten a person's possibility to experience anxiety disorders or develop unhealthy behaviors. So a person with a strong id are more likely to be narcissistic and impulsive. Then a person with a strong ego are more likely to have a healthy personality. And for those who have a strong superego, they are more likely to experience strong feelings of guilt and are unaware of their own emotional needs. In contrast, those with a weak superego are more likely to be psychopaths who lack moral control. Freud's approach has been criticized by focusing too much on sex. So neo-Freudians followed his approach, but they reduced its emphasis on sex and also values the importance of childhood experiences. Erikson's argument opposed Freud's notion that personality is fixed in early life. Rather, he argues that a person's personality can be developed across the lifespan and through interacting with others. Then, this leads to the behavioral perspective on personality, which is the notion that we are not born to be who we are. Rather, our personality is being shaped by learning and the environment. For example, we are encouraged or discouraged to behave in certain ways, which make or shape our personality into more socially appropriate norms. So we learn to behave in certain ways, and therefore our personality will change and develop across the entire life. Rather than saying that our personality is determined by the unconscious, which is Freud, or the environment, which is behaviorism, in fact, both interact with each other and can influence our personality. So our cognitive processes, behavior, and situational factors will interact with each other. So here, cognitive processes refers to our beliefs, expectations, and values, and behaviors refers to the actions that we do. And situational factors is the context or environment where our behavior will be punished or rewarded. So for example, will you engage in bungee jumping? The behavior here is bungee jump. And the cognitive factors that may influence this behavior may include your beliefs and values and your past experiences with a similar behavior. And finally, the context here refers to the reward structure for the behavior. And according to reciprocal determinism, all of the three factors are in play. So all of these factors will eventually influence our personality and behavior. And finally, let's go over the genetic perspective for personality. So a famous study is called the Minnesota Study of Twins. So they recruited twins and compared twins being raised together or apart, and identical or fraternal. Their major finding was that identical twins have very similar personality, regardless of being raised together or apart. And some personality traits even have more than 0.50 heritability, such as leadership, faithfulness, and also well-being. This is the end of this unit. In our next unit, we will talk more about different types of personality traits and also models. See you in the next video.